Good morning, everybody. Do I look like somebody who has just got done driving 24 hours and not had any sleep? Yeah, we're back in Michigan, and I apologize I didn't spend as much time on this one as what I normally do. I wanted to get a video out, but after the long drive, I haven't had the time, so I'm literally filming this just a few minutes before I post it this morning. So, something that I've been watching lately out on YouTube, some of the other channels that talk about this topic, and not many people are getting into it, but a few of them are, and I just wanted to voice my opinion on it. Not that my opinion matters, but you guys are watching this for a reason. So here's the hard truth that a lot of the prep community doesn't really say out loud. Your lone wolf plan, that's probably going to get you killed. Not because you're weak, and not because your gear is wrong, not because your plan's bad, because you're a human being, and human beings don't survive alone. We never have. I get it. The world feels unstable. People are angry. Politics are toxic. Your neighbors barely wave anymore. And a lot of people still haven't fully recovered mentally or emotionally from the pandemic. If you've ever been burned by people, if you've watched society fracture in real time, if you've seen what selfish looks like during an emergency, then you know that trusting anyone feels like a liability. So the fantasy makes sense. You grab your bag, you disappear into the woods. There's nobody to slow you down, nobody to let you down. Just you, your gear, and your plan. Sounds like strength. It isn't. Because preparedness has to be rooted in realism, not emotion. And the realistic truth is this. At some point in any real emergency, you are going to encounter other human beings. The question was never whether you will need people. The question is whether you're going to have those relationships built before that need arises. No single person can stay awake 24 hours a day. No single person can simultaneously defend a property, gather supplies, grow food, repair equipment, provide medical care, monitor communications, and care for their family at the same time. That's not an opinion. That's math. And here's what people really don't want to sit with. What happens on day 10, day 14, day 21? When you're still hot, you're still exhausted, you're still stressed, and you're still uncertain about what's coming next. That's when judgment breaks down. That's when people start making mistakes. And those mistakes can get them killed. Someone stands watch while you sleep. Someone monitors comms while someone else cooks. Someone handles repairs while you make a supply run. Even the most elite military operators in the world work in teams. Not because they're weak, but because they're smart enough to know the math. So let's talk about something that Hurricane Katrina taught us. The headlines from Hurricane Katrina in 2005 were about chaos, looting, and breakdown. And yeah, those things happened. But here's what didn't make the front page. Do you know what Katrina's death toll looked like by neighborhood? It wasn't random. The pockets of New Orleans that held together, the ones that functioned when everything around them was collapsing, weren't the ones with the best gear or the most supplies. They were the neighborhoods where people already knew each other. People who had cooked out together, borrowed each other's tools, waved from the driveway. That's it. That was the difference. Community. Now compare that to the people who were completely isolated. No neighbors that they trusted, no local network per se, nobody checking on them. Some of those people were found days later, not because they lacked supplies, but because when things got hard, there was nobody there. Chaos finds the isolated faster than it finds the connected. Let that sink in. Here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that you need 50 people in a compound. I'm not saying that you need a tactical alliance. You need a handful of capable, dependable human beings. That's it. The neighbor with a chainsaw. The guy with the generator that lives 2 doors down. The nurse at the end of the road. The ham radio operator across the street. And maybe the retired mechanic around the corner. That's your team. Gear matters, absolutely. But reliable people multiply your effectiveness in ways that gear simply cannot. You don't build community by walking up to your neighbor and saying, "Hey, want to talk about collapse scenarios?" Don't be that guy. You build it the same way trust has always been built. Slowly, quietly, and through normal life. You help somebody after a storm. You loan them your tools. Check on an elderly neighbor. Get involved in something local. Pay attention to character. A few reliable people is worth infinitely more than 50 shallow relationships. And here's something worth sitting with. Your preparedness community might already exist. It could be extended family, church friends, a few solid neighbors, or coworkers you actually trust. I work from home and my coworkers are all over the country. Maybe your situation's different. You don't always have to build something new from scratch. Sometimes you just need to deepen what's already there. Isolation changes people, and usually not for the better. When people become truly isolated, fear grows, suspicion grows, stress amplifies, and eventually every stranger starts to look like a threat. You've seen it online. People so deep in doom content that they can't look at another human being without calculating whether they're a competitor or a danger. That's not resilience. That's emotional exhaustion that's wearing a preparedness mask. Real preparedness should make you more confident, not destroy your ability to trust anyone. And during long duration hardship, and I'm not talking about 3 days, but more like weeks, emotional support stops being a luxury and it turns into a survival factor. Conversation matters. Laughter matters in the sense that you're not carrying the entire world alone matters more than most people will ever admit. That stability doesn't come from gear. It comes from relationships. Self-reliance still matters. So learn skills and store some supplies. Become harder to destabilize. All of that matters, and I'll never tell you otherwise. But preparedness is never supposed to turn you into an isolated island. Excuse me. The real goal is becoming capable enough to help stabilize the people around you too. Real resilience looks like capable people working together. Steady people, dependable people, problem solvers who show up. And maybe the most important preparedness project any of us can work on right now is rebuilding real community before we actually need it. Because when life gets difficult, skills matter, and the gear matters, and planning does matter. But people, in my opinion, people matter most of all. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep preparing for the future long enough to matter. See you guys on the next one.